The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Well, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you all this morning. Oh, y'all thought I was going to come in here being down and out. No, I'm not. The only thing that I was, again, disappointed with was the timing and the time frame because that's artificial. It's man-made. Again, man-made. But guess who has control over the times? Guess who has control over, believe it or not, the Most High does have control over men's hearts. He'll provide favor. He'll give you favor. He really will. And I laugh because, and shout out to you all that had given some words of encouragement to me via emails and LinkedIn's. Yeah, folks will follow me on the LinkedIn. I don't be putting much on the LinkedIn. That's kind of those are some distinct things. But it's funny because as we go through this life, there's going to be ups and downs. I had some ups and I had some downs in 2025. My 2025, it started literally with a down. It got up. I hit a little bit of a down again. But guess what? It's funny because one of the things that I had been told by great counsel. Please make sure that you have Yah filled counsel. Have you done everything you can to prepare for your blessing? And, the reality was just even until actually about 5-10 minutes before I got on here. 5-10 minutes before I got on here, I was thinking about something because I told you all yesterday that today's a little different. Um, because it's my son's birthday. Sorry, excuse me. And with it being my son's birthday, he turns 20, but there are some things in our relationship, not to spill all the business, because I have a good son. I have a great son. My son actually listens, and I believe he loves to be around me. But this is his time. This is he has his little girlfriend, what they say in the streets, his little huzz. So, and and my son doesn't listen to this anyway, so I don't really care. So I don't put his business on out there like that. But today, my my daughter and actually my daughters and son and his girlfriend are planning a surprise party. So I'll be hosting him over here um to have him go through some things because a lot of the stuff that we do he is heavily involved in. So when I say and I have all these things, you see all the Copeland Legacy Group and things of that nature, that's what it really is for. It's a long-lasting legacy of helping on out our people. And I'm going to tell you this, the reason that is even the way it is. When I started off Covenant Awakenings, I for those that may have been here from the beginning or maybe not. So Covenant Awakenings actually started from the conversations that I would have with my dad. And my dad is, well, he is an evangelist. And I say he is because I don't like to say he was. He's still evangelizing. Even in his state, he still knows who the Most High is. But a couple of years ago, a couple of decades ago, I think this is back in about the 90s. This was after my parents had divorced and I had moved up to New Jersey after the divorce. That's where my mom's family had all been around. So you move on up to your support base. And let me tell you, all throughout that time, for a couple of years, my dad and our relationship was very tumultuous, to say the least. Um, it's still tumultuous even between my brother and my dad. And my dad still believes that he's back in circa 2010 to 2015. Yeah. But he still understands the scriptural foundations, especially, excuse me, especially when it comes to the New Testament. And honestly, I could tell you this: before my awakening, I was literally 90% New Testament, 10% Old Testament. Like, you give me a scripture, I can name that off. Oh, that's in Philemon. Oh, that's in Titus. Oh, that's in this. That's in that. I was one of those. I was that nerd growing on up because I love to do the little Bible challenges in our assemblies of God and non-denominational churches and things of that nature. So I knew the word. There's one thing in knowing the word, and there's another thing in the application of the word. And this is what we're seeing, that is the challenge that has been eroded by this generation, because they will know the word, but the application of that word is faulty, which is actually going back to Isaiah 44, it reveals their shame. Going back to Obadiah, it reveals their shame. Because now what you're seeing is faith without works. They don't have any works. They're dead. It's a dead people. Oh, Jesus loves me. Jesus this, Jesus that. Well, what's your evidence? What's your fruit? Sorry, in this 2026, I hope that everybody did very well, but believe it or not, I passed out at about 11:45. I was because what ends up happening, especially in my neighborhood, everybody has fireworks. And the fireworks had kind of started off early. And I was thinking, yeah, they're going to probably go until about 3, 4 in the morning. Weirdest thing happened: by about 11:30, there was nothing. I ended up passing out by 11:45. And keep in mind, I usually go to bed at about 10:15, 10:30 at the latest. Some days I'm in bed at about 9:30, passed out. I get that grog monster. You know, a little groggy monster where you just start grunting and everything before you get in bed. You're so tired. That's how I am most days. But I wanted to go here today. I always like to do the King James version. To me, it's a little bit better. They have the NIV. King James version to me feels a lot more authentic, even though obviously it's, Greek and Latin. Give me a second, family. I'm going to share this, but I'm also going to put the StreamYard link in if anybody wants to come on in. Because we got a couple things to talk about this morning, especially that Russian flagged. It's a Russian flagged vessel that the Coast Guard is trying to chase. And I'm sorry, forgive me of my ignorance. But when they talked about the U.S. was chasing a Russian flagged vessel, I'm sorry that all I could think of was back in the 90s of Diddy dancing on the boat in the Versace and Biggie driving the boat talking about Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes these oil tankers be hypnotizing. But NATO has its flashy ways. Guess that's why they broke and piracy's okay. I get PUTIN on the Oreshniks. My Kinzall missiles will hit you quick. Yeah, take that, take that. And then you have Zelensky as a backup dancer, looking like Mason Betha. Don't. Oh, hot and thicker than your average. You just see that oil tanker just popping little like smoke grenades and the crew just dancing like they're on a 90s rap video. And the helicopters are flying behind and oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry about the imagery. It may be disturbing, but let me get mm, into the scripture that the Most High placed on my heart this morning. So, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know he's talking about, by the will of Yah and Timothy, our brother, to the saints and faithful brethren in Yahushua, which are at Colossae, grace be unto you and peace from Yahuwah our Father and Yahushua HaMashiach, our Lua, our Lord, our Master. We give thanks to Yah and the Father of our Alua, Yahushua HaMashiach, praying always for you since we heard of your faith in Yahushua HaMashiach and of the love which ye have to all the saints for the hope which is laid up for you in heaven, whereof ye heard before in the word of the truth of the gospel, which is come unto you as it is in all the world, and bringeth forth fruit as it doth also in you, since the day ye heard of it and knew the grace of Yahuwah in truth. You know, one of the markers that we have to understand is the understanding of the fruit, and the fruit that is sometimes seen and the evidence that is unseen by faith. Pastor Rick Fletcher, the vessel was actually out in the Atlantic and made it out the Caribbean. It was being chased in the Atlantic. They got a high speed maritime vessel chase in the Atlantic. And let me tell you this, if y'all didn't know, I got to go into a couple different things. Give me a second. Oh yeah, it's definitely an international water. So for any type of boarding, now understand anything that is boarded like that requires Interpol and other WTO and World Bank And I think even ICC/ICJ interactions, because that's international, because you have now maritime admiralty laws on that. So what's happening is you have a campaign, which is basically a U.S. led campaign. This is U.S. unilateral action. There's no international anything to this. There's no UN security resolution. There's no ICC, ICJ resolution for any type of interdictions of illegal assets or cargo. None of that. That's why they have to use it or phrase it as narco this or that. However, what a lot of people don't understand is this: at the levels, especially within your DOD, well, now DOW, your DOW, your War Department, and also within your State Department, there are usually a group of international advisors or liaisons that represent these groups, so then they're able to provide then summary oversight that provides the legal justification via these international organizations. Hey, they need to do this. Hey, they need to do that. Now, don't get it twisted. You have now more than likely drones on up there that is flying and making sure that they are spotting the vessel at all times. They're not leaving the vessel alone. They can see the vessel. They're going to probably fly the vessel off of different coastal waters. They'll probably fly it off of the Canaries, the Azores. They can see, depends on how they overlay the mission. So that's the reality of that situation going on there, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I'm going to get into this because, as I had stated, for those that are just joining here, we're in a time where the fruits are not matching up with the word. So you could be a hearer of the word, you could be even a doer, but what do your fruits align with? And in this modern day heliocentric, Eurocentric construct religion known as Christianity, and that's what it is. Shout out to Yakoba. You have to understand that the fruits are not necessarily aligning with the actions, which is also the grace of Yahuwah in truth. Now, if you've noticed, that grace period is over because they had been allowed to do things that they wanted to do, but they're not allowed to do and act with the impunity that they had once acted with. I.e., that's what you see with the shipping container. Well, why don't they just board it and do everything else? Why don't they just get out the Green Berets, get out the Navy SEALs, get out the Marine Raiders, any type of special force apparatus? Why don't they do that? Because the reality is they no longer have the legal platform, not just in the courts here on earth, but neither in the courts in heaven. Everything that they were able to do, they were legally justified to do it. So when people said, well, I'm mad at this, I'm mad at that, well, don't get mad at them. You have to remember, they're just following out what the Most High has already decreed and declared for our sentence. Now that our sentence is over, now those that had done the persecuting, now they're going to reap the curses because there was a curse response, right? Even though they said, hey, I'm going to pick me, I want to do it. What does the job cost? Okay, well, at the end of the day, um, you're going to do the mining. Your repercussions that you're going to have black lung and you'll probably die very early because that's the operational hazard. Do you still want to do this job? Yeah, sure. I mean, it pays $150 an hour. Just saying, I'm not sure what it pays. All these benefits and people respect me and I get all the world's respect and they bow down at my feet and yada yada yada. But the problem is they're now understanding that this is the end of their shelf life. And that's the hardest thing for them to understand because, again, part of all of these columns, all these elements, all these supports of our captivity wasn't just an economic, wasn't just a political, financial, demographic, social. It didn't matter. It was also a spiritual dynamic and component. And that dynamic is now being shredded because they had a veil that they placed over the whole wide world. You don't need to worry about these black folks. They're just black. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who we took from Africa. It doesn't matter, right? That was the whole synopsis. Even even up to about what's it 2 years ago. You don't have that same energy. And I spoke about this a couple of months ago. You don't have that same energy with the, I would say, UA community because really they were just trying to kick against something that was totally out of their control. Because when you're operating with truth, when you're operating with love, you can't condemn a matter and not hear the matter out fully. That's actually operating in ignorance. That's operating in shame and folly. That's literally what you see in Proverbs. To render a decision before you hear the whole of the matter. And now, when we're seeing this being done on the world stage, their folly is that, and even Americans are now realizing most of the world, it's not the grumblings anymore if they don't like America. Now the grumblings have turned into, here it is, policy. What do you mean you don't like America? What do you mean that, now my visas are being restricted? My brother the other day sent me something on the visa restrictions in Burkina Faso. Then of course, I responded, yeah, that's what's going on. They will tell you about the visa restrictions, but they won't tell you why there's a visa restriction. Why is there a visa restriction? Because whenever you do have a campaign getting ready to happen, you're going to have an influx of people that will come on in that will say, yeah, we're all here. Yeah, great, great. We want to do blah, 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 blah. But their mission's to go there and to destabilize. Because they get set up months in advance to be their clandestine operators for missions that may not even be in that country. So understand that these countries they know of these tactics, techniques, and procedures. And now what they've done, look, it what a visa does, and I have a visa. I have a visa for Burkina Faso. I think most of y'all realize that when Garth and I went to Burkina Faso literally last year, or excuse me, in 2024, because now we're in 2026. They process your visas. They look at who you are. They look at everything. You know how the US says, hey, you need to open up your phone and show us your social media, scan your phone. But what are they doing? They're ripping down the data. They're looking at the metadata, just what they see, the image that's captured. They don't really go into a cloud like that, but they'll go into that upfront memory, that peripheral devices memory, and then they'll see what is being said. And if people have said some very, very, you know, unsavory things about the United States, they look at those keywords and they said, step aside. We got to do some, this is what they call it, additional screening. And then they're met with TSA officers and other types of three-letter cadre. And then they ask you additional questions. They look at your ticket. They want to know who you are. They look at all this other stuff. I can only imagine having been pulled into many of those rooms during my international travels. The first time is actually very unnerving. So it does become very unnerving for people. Man, I had to go through this and go through that. The U.S. had to make me go through there, and I had to sit there for like 30 minutes, and then I missed my flight, and I had to stay there and spend some extra money because I couldn't get a flight out until the very next day. That becomes very unnerving to people that have never gone through that have never walked in that. I have. Especially if you don't have any type of a mentor, or if you're not on official business, that could be unnerving. I had to go through the screenings all the time in those little back rooms because I was always traveling on official business. And they were doing that because what they were doing at that time was it was a retaliation because people did not like how, especially in 2016 to 2020, they didn't like how the United States was operating. So when you go through that type of political fallout, you just have to remain calm and go through the process. But for people that have never seen that process before, and especially when you're now going to a country that is now relatively hostile and has been deemed relatively hostile on the international community, well, let's just say people aren't lining up to come into the United States like that and taking the risk of literally being disappeared without that person having the opportunity to call the embassy. And now we're understanding that we are living in a world where transparency is at the lowest point in history. Can someone say Epstein files? So I want to come back into this. This is Colossians chapter 1. Let me come back, verse 7. As you also learned of Epaphras, our dear fellow servant, who is for you a faithful minister of Hamashiach, who also declared unto us your love in the Spirit. For this cause we also, since the day we heard of it, do not cease to pray for you and to desire that ye might be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. Now, it's interesting that when I went over Isaiah 44, and now you're starting to see spiritual understanding. What does that mean? Because now we're dealing with the people that are now lacking wisdom and understanding, especially spiritual understanding, and now they are being destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Now the curse that had been placed on us is now turning on them. Well, we did not have any, let's just face it, we didn't have any physical knowledge. We didn't have any historical understanding. We didn't have any of those actual, um, the understanding of how the world actually worked. We would only get the understanding of what they would tell us. And what they would tell us would be, this is how things work. And if you have a question with it, well, don't question it. Do not question how the world worked, because this is how the world works. And we say, okay, all right, I guess. But now the wisdom and understanding that is given to us by the Ruach HaKodesh is allowing us to see and to understand and to operate outside of their spiritual understanding. So they've lost their authority in the spirit, because to them, there's nothing spiritual. To them, spirituality is entertainment. It's for entertainment purposes only. Do 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 do, creepy creepy do 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 do. Right? This is where we are now at in the present, because as a people that are waking up, we've been a people that have been awake. We may not be all the way there. A lot of our people are still very groggy, but we're coming around. It's hard to get out of a coma. This is a real world, Neo. This is the very first time you're using your eyelid or your eyes, your natural eyes. Why is it so bright? I can't see anything. This is the very first time our people are using our spiritual eyes. That ye might walk worthy of Yahuwah unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of Yahuwah, strengthened with all might according to his glorious power, unto all patience and long suffering with joyfulness. And this is a scripture that I had to take away, and this is what the Most High literally downloaded into me, because yesterday, oh, I could have been defeated. I could have said, you know what, I want to give up. I need to take some time off. I need to spiritually um recenter myself. I need to, I can say all those keywords. Father, Man, I felt a certain sort of way. I'm taking my basketball and I'm going home. I'm taking my toys and I'm leaving. No. What the Most High was actually revealing in me, okay, you're going to go through this test. As you go through this test, it's going to feel like you failed. He doesn't fail. No, he doesn't fail. Now, the funny thing is, remember I was saying, look, this is a container and the container thing, we spent 18 months on that container, over 18 months, over a year and almost 2 years, technically almost 2 years. But the reality was, there were things that still needed to be done to be able to receive that blessing. Because now, as a people, as a group, not a lot of people could say that they sent things over to Burkina Faso. And I'm going to tell you, with all of the stuff there on the ground, the highways and everything else going into Burkina Faso, listen, that's a miracle into itself. Because some of them roads, when I was driving, when I was along for the ride, not driving. No, 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 no. I've driven some places. I don't want to drive there. I'm selective about roads and driving, especially if you're trying to drive outside of Greater Greater Accra. A lot of those trucks don't even make it. A lot of the goods don't even make it. A lot of those trucks, they get caught on fire. The goods, they get overturned. They're on the side of the mountain somewhere. So that was even by the Most High's grace to have the medical supplies go all the way 600-mile inland journey from the port in Tema to Ouagadougou. And keep in mind, at that time, Burkina Faso had temporarily halted vehicles from going into Burkina Faso from Ghana because Ghana has these extra large trucks. They're over 53 feet. They're some like extra large trucks, and they actually end up tearing up the roads. And Ghana said, we're not going to have those trucks, or excuse me, Burkina Faso said to Ghana, we're not going to have those trucks in here. Get them on a different truck because it tears up the roads. That shutdown happened for about a little under 24 hours. And Ghana says, okay, that's fine. Because understand, a lot of the stuff that they do over on the continent, they would not dare to do in Europe nor the United States. Because these DOT standards, Department of Transportation standards that we have on over here, especially as it comes to vehicles being on the road and the types of vehicles on the road, I've never seen a vehicle be allowed to drive with just its rim. That's going to cause some issues. Yeah, you may have a blowout. It may be a little dangerous, but you're not going to continue that journey because why? Because there's going to be police officers on over there, and there's going to be other motorists, and they're going to be signaling for you to pull on over because why? Because that's a danger. They're going to signal danger. They're going to signal something unsafe. And they'll try to be polite about it here. They're going to say, excuse me, are you okay? Are you having anything, a medical situation? Do I need to call the paramedics for you? The police, the paramedics for you? Because they're going to try and signal, get off the road because you're going to make the road conditions very hazardous because you're going to mess up the gravel, causing more potholes, causing more issues. Burkina Faso, and I can attest to that, especially in Ouagadougou. Those roads, especially on the main corridors, they're immaculate. The other interior corridors, the roads are getting better. They're still about, I would say, like 70% completed, and I'd say 70%. And there's some drainage spots that causes sinkholes, and that's just because, listen, they're still also working on infrastructure when it comes to drainage, because your drainage has to go somewhere. It has to be processed somewhere. Those filters, they have to be cleaned somewhere. They're just learning how to do that. But as a people, we have to be mindful that a lot of our brothers and sisters on the continent, they're not there on that level. This is something we're used to. We've grown up in this. We've grown up to the fact that, man, if something in terms of drainage happens, that's like especially in Florida, oh, that had to be a Hurricane Milton sized catastrophe. Because we build things for drainage, we build things for water collection. We know critical infrastructure, and we know how important that is for the conditions on the ground. So I digress. Sorry about that. I digress. But that's the blessing that the Most High gave us to move that container over to the continent. And again, almost 20 months, that's a while. So that was long suffering. It didn't mean that we weren't able to do it. What it meant was we were able to do it, but a lot of things had to take place and a lot of things had to take shape before it could be done. And I thank the Most High that there was a delay, because from that time in 2023 to what we were doing in 2025, there had to be a little bit of a maturation process. Not just with me, but with all those within the realm of that container. What the Most High does, he examines the people, not one person, the people. He looks and he sees. Are you ready? Are they ready? Are we ready? We have a spiritual auditor, and he audits thoroughly. And so today, when I was thinking about that, I said, thank you, Father. I know that you don't fail, And I know that this seems like a setback. I said it's a setup because the reality is, other than needing the front money, everything else is good. I mean, I pray that it is. I still have to talk to the king. I have to talk to the king like Chloe from Coming to America. But let me tell you, Your Excellency, you're gonna have to put them rose petals back in the basket because we have some things over here, but don't worry. We got the all beef patty, lettuce, onion, special sauce on a bun, not a sesame seed bun. My son Akeem walks. But I had to laugh because I said, no, I said, thank you, Father. You haven't failed. It's just that when this happens, our people have to be going through a different gate. We have to go through a different shift in our paradigm, in our thought process. Now, not everybody's going to go through that shift, but there's going to be enough because that's going to be the evidence. And it was funny because, again, earlier as I was explaining things, there are some things that I was talking to my son about. And I told him, I said, hey, we need to work on this. We need to work on that. We need to get some things in order here because he helps me with certain things with Copeland Legacy Group. And there was something that we needed to do a couple of weeks ago. And I said, hey, I need you to help me because this is very critical. And my son, again, being a now newly in his 20s today, it wasn't registering, and he was thinking that, well, I can just do things, I can knock out things, later. That's how we think as young adult males. We can do things later. We have all the time in the world. But if you notice, we actually don't have that much time. We don't have all the time in the world. Oh, I'll get it done eventually. No, I don't think so. There are things they say by two or three witnesses. By two or three witnesses. I'm going to come here. This is educational purposes only because they be getting big mad, big mad when when you show some things and you not give them the proper credit. Oh boy. Oh yeah, they become big mad. But I want to share this. I usually like listening to this commentator, but um, he had a person on there. I listen. I'll listen to people whether they're credible or not. It all depends. I just say I listen to things to analyze. To analyze. Now, you can take away things, eat the meat, spit out the bone, all that other good stuff. But this was kind of interesting because there was some contradictions that was going on. And I'm going to play some of the segments here. It's about almost 4 minutes. This is fair use. Fair use going out to Jay Bravo. On this side of the YouTube spaces in the YouTube hood. But again, as I've always stated this, I'm sorry, but I have to listen to the other side because they're saying things that they don't even realize what they're saying. They're letting the cat out the bag without them understanding. Okay, we already know. We know, but we don't like to give dates. I believe again, this is my thought process. This is my belief. You can take it or not. You don't. Not everybody has to believe like Brother Karras. You all need to believe as I believe. No, no. I'm not even sure I believe this person, but I always do say, well, let me take a look and let's see because I want to see, I want to understand. Because we all know in the spiritual, we can see how things are shaping up in the natural. But I like to make sure that we understand how this agreement goes. So here you go. Here is on my screen. And again, this is Jay Bravo. This is an excerpt that he had from yesterday, last night. And I'm going to share it. Here we go. Oh, man. Sorry, give me a second. I thought that I was sharing this. Y'all are probably wondering, looking at me like, what is happening? Okay. And here we go. Now you all can see it. Here we go. And
I'm Rafi Farber. I am the Endgame Investor, primarily on Substack, endgameinvestor.substack.com, and my YouTube channel is Rafi Farber. The day is coming soon when dollars will no longer be exchangeable for gold and silver, and then the dollar will not buy anything, and then it will be revealed as the derivative that it was. What I'm trying to do, I'm also trying to help people thrive and survive. So you're in the debt system, and that entire thing is going to collapse. So, and depending on how much actual money you have, which is gold and silver, a lot of your assets might be seized or taken away. Maybe they won't. I don't know your personal situation. I'm just talking generally.
Yeah. Are we in a debt-based system?
We're in a gold and silver based system that is inflated with a lot of debt on top of it. That is no good because it's inflated and the gold and silver doesn't exist to pay it back. Here, let me just expand on that for a second. Because the exchange rate between gold and the dollar is no longer fixed, the amount of gold does exist to pay back all the dollars, right? If you take the Fed's balance sheet and you divide it by the amount of gold in the Fed's balance sheet, you have the exact number of dollars you need to pay for every ounce. It's about 60,000. So in the end game, in the end of the dollar, they will have to stop at that number. Like however many dollars exist and however many gold ounces exist, there's going to be a hard exchange rate if the dollar is going to survive at all. And that's what I'm saying, that all the purchasing power will go back into the money away from the credit. Credit will be worthless because credit and debt really are the same thing. One man's debt is another man's credit, literally. And once credit goes away.
Let me interject here. Okay. What he's saying is that's the definition of scarcity. Scarcity at this level is existing because there's no longer access to gold like that on the continent, from the continent. That is what they're getting afraid of. So he's giving you a little bit of that. It's topical, right? You know, surface level. But understand what he's actually stating. Because they'll say, oh, the dollar and debt and money and gold and all this other stuff. No, let me break this on down just another level. Let me peel this onion back just another level. They're losing access to the gold reserves, even on the continent, especially in Africa. They have been able to mine it for over 100 years in certain mines, even in Ghana. So imagine how long they've been mining, and literally they're just scratching the surface. What it is that they're not really able to take the gold, the actual asset, which is where the dollar comes off of and comes from as a derivative. I'll give you papers for this metallic substance. Now people are over speculating on the metallic substance because the paper is really not there. So listen closely, family. So, because this is one of the things that we need to discuss here, because please pay attention. You're going to hear it right at the very end. I think it's only about less than 2 minutes left.
Debt goes away with it because they're the same thing, and then all you're left with is the money and then all the assets on the planet.
Give me a time frame. When does this reach?
A few months.
You're kidding.
No.
Explain.
Explain. Okay, this is called al regalachas, on one leg. It's a Hebrew saying. I don't know if I could do it on one leg, but basically every round of inflation that eventually calms down the system, because debt can filter through the system again. For example, after 2008, and then again after 2020, every round of inflation that they engage upon has to be bigger than the one before it, and they come in more and stronger waves. So the 2008 wave was something like $15 trillion if you look at all the Fed's bailouts. And the 2020 wave was about 4 times that. So the next one is what, 100 trillion or some insane number. There is a point where confidence in the credit is just totally collapses. And if you look at the action of gold and silver, it's not really the action of gold and silver. It's the action of the dollar, because it's representing less and less gold and silver.
And what does that look like?
It looks like the near collapse of civilization. It looks like riots in the big cities. It looks like mass starvation by the poor, those who are dependent on welfare in any capacity will lose their incomes. People on mortgages will lose their houses. And the only ones with any purchasing power will be the ones with the most liquid commodity and those with actual physical assets. Real assets will have value. They'll just be a lot less liquid. So if you're stuck with a house that you own, but no gold and silver, you might have to trade your house for a week's worth of food, which you'll live, but it's not very ideal. You'd rather spend, a few dimes.
And you say the max is 6 months.
No. I'd say it's somewhere within 2026. It looks.
All right. Was I the only one that heard that? We gotta talk about this. Because Jacoba brought in a great point. Excuse me. I'm getting hiccups. I was thinking 3 months too. And the reason I was thinking 3 months is because remember, they always time everything in their war cycle. Their war cycle is about late February, March. Now, let me explain what he was just explaining. 2008, then it was 2020. Now we're hitting 2026. Now we're about to, so understand, what is it doing? It's funneling. That's almost a reverse parabolic funnel. Reverse exponential funnel. 12, 6, 3, 18 months, 9 months, 4.5 months. $75 days, 5 weeks, 28 days, 14 days, 7 days, total failure, total collapse. Kind of sounds like Agenda 2030. Kind of sounds like 2033. Kind of sounds like what they were saying is you're going to need to have gold or silver. Kind of sounds like they're losing their economic bargaining chip. Kind of sounds like there's about to be some deals made with Africa. That's what it sounds like to me. They can't really restart the printers. They're going to. They have to do it. And then again, at the end of this cycle, you'll go up for how many months? 2026. 18 months. Roughly around, I would say, September or so of 2027. And then they'll economically cycle down. By February, March of 2029. At that time, will they have enough for another infusion? That's what they're trying to say. Will this be the last infusion? Because They'll infuse with dollars. They'll infuse with cash. And then people will start to say, is this even anything? Is this even anything? And then understand people, it's not the infusion of cash, it's literally a backstop for people to start getting out of the dollar. Why do you think China's doing that? China has hit that dollar inflection point. Okay, I'm going to take a loss. When I take a loss, I'm going to start taking something else. China's coming over here, they're going to get land. That's what these countries are afraid of. Shout out to Brother Yakoba. They're not going to, you're not going to, I'm going to say this. You really won't see a heavily Chinese presence on the West Coast. You won't even know that the West Coast has already been seceded from the U.S. You won't even know that if Congress took a secret vote to sell off parts of the United States. I tell you, this is their last stand to be able to have some sort of economic viability. Yes, Jermaine. Jermaine says countries, banks, and individuals are seeking non-dollar investments, of course. And Brother Asaf says many African countries are not taking US dollars as payments anymore. And he continues to say Zambia is only taking payments for external companies. And Chinese yuan, the yuan is now becoming the reserve currency. But what China will say, because China will say, look, we're more pluralistic. I can't take the credit. I'm not going to take the credit. We have to be more synergistic. We have to have more people included. This will be the BRICS Plus. But in the BRICS Plus system, they're going to have their share of the wealth. All is fair. Sorry, I did supply about 80-some%. I'm just saying, all is fair. I'm the biggest creditor on out here. Yes, Cynthia. They'll say all that, and then the reality is nobody is playing their game anymore. No. You want to have access to my wealth, you're going to have to pay. Well, we could just clearly bring in, bombers and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, fine, do it. We're waiting. Go ahead, do it. You want to run your mouth? You got all that smoke? Go ahead, do it. That's why, to me, Maduro is in a much stronger position than what people realized. Because, again, when you have to strike out like that and have such a flimsy argument, it's very flimsy. It's so flimsy. that teenagers can rip that argument apart. It's very flimsy. Wait, what are you saying here? What do you say? That doesn't make sense. Why doesn't this sound like it makes any sense? Well, because it's narco terrorism, and we gotta help Christians, and we gotta bring democracy, and we gotta do this and got. What they can't say is they're broke. See, you cannot tell the truth to a people that love lies. You really can't. Because when you tell them the truth of their situation, hey, your house is burning. Remember, I was talking about this. Karis Fuchsia says, when they see things out of control, they know that they're not in control. So they will sit and they will let house burn all around them. Karis Fuchsius. You can get the copy now. It should be out in Amazon in the next couple years. AI derived quotes from Karis Fuchsius based off of all of my ignorant behind sayings on Covenant Awakenings. Karis Fuchsius says, in toilet flush in public bathroom, does anyone notice? Karis Fuchsius says, if booger on someone's face, do you say anything? Karis Fuchsius says, when dragon breath come a roaring, you turn around and pretend like nothing happened. Oh my goodness. Well, the reality is that they know their people. They understand their people. They have more of an idea of their people. But I would also argue this, in a world that you're now seeing their standard form of currency occurring, being de-dollarization is literally a global devaluation, which is actually the case when it comes to a monetary reset or shift in that monetary reset. And we're seeing it right now. Is this something? And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. Don't get this twisted. Please don't get it twisted. Please understand. You got to understand. Trump is the king of what? Bankruptcy. Oh man, Sister Shaw and I had this talk a while ago. In a bankruptcy, it's easier to pay your creditors. when the value of that good or of those goods that I would say this, the paper, the instrument that you create has been massively devalued. Hey, we're having hyperinflation. We're printing everywhere. You want your reparations? Sure, I got $5 million for you. Did you see what that man just said? He said, "Look, you have to put your house on the market just so you can get some groceries." Just so you can look, you have to take out literally a second mortgage if you can get a second mortgage just so you can feed your family. He didn't say in 2027. He didn't say, oh, in the next 2-3 years. My man said in the next couple months. Rafi Farber said it. I didn't say it. The white pill bottle is not just for headaches, it's for hard heads. Shout out, Brother Dante. For hard heads, the white pill bottle. What does that mean? I'm going to say this. I believe that here in the United States, just me, my personal opinion, my interactions, as I had stated this last year, even a year before that, people always want to know how would we be able to get help? Again, as I had stated, oh, that case for reparations. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, what you didn't know is, and what they were basically stating and considering this. We just really didn't have that much of an understanding at that time. Reparation, especially when it comes to war, is the return of not just goods, manpower, but it's also a return of people. And I don't care if the people has been around multi-generationally. Multi-generationally. You can keep all that nonsense of, oh, I'm Native American. Okay. Okay. I don't think y'all are truly understanding this. Technically speaking, when you go to war against the people, you can't really pay a people back. Technically speaking, you can't. That's not how that works, especially in a reparation wartime environment. We could talk about repensatory and compensatory manners, but that will have to be at every single slave holding person with the receipts. Oh yeah, there it is. There's Mammy right there. There's a DNA sample right there. There are my cousins right there that lead to all this right there. I mean, you could technically. I mean, you could. You probably get that done with some of these some AI renderings and mathematical algorithmic functions that can then map things on out to different people and places and locations. Oh, I'm pretty sure you probably can. But would they do that? Chances are no. Especially in a system in a state that's declining. I don't think people understand how easy it would be for the National Guard to round up the folks that need to be rounded up so they can be repatriated. I had said that. I said, look, watch. They're going to do this in April with the whole 14th Amendment challenge. They'll come through. Oh, the 14th Amendment. Oh, we got to make some changes. Blah, 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 blah. We need to act as a people. We need to act as a Congress because we have millions of Americans whose status is on the line. Right? They'll give you all that other blah, 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 blah. We had to push through the bill because of the United States and with the Trump administration. And then all of a sudden, a legal citizen of the United States cannot be trafficked to another country. It's real simple. They don't have to make up the caseload, the case precedent. That case precedent is actually already under the ICJ. Look it up. That's the precedent that even surrounds everything to do with human trafficking. Remember that big old human trafficking push that they had almost 7 years ago? That was the hot button item. Human trafficking. We got to stop human trafficking. We got to stop state-sponsored human trafficking. Stafford, Virginia, huh? I could believe that because then you're kind of close to Langley and you're also close to Quantico. They could ship people on out. They can actually fly people on out. 8,500 folks facility. That means you would be flying out 30 sorties or so a day, 24-hour rotation. I'm Sean's comment. Can we file for human trafficking against the Catholic Church? Well, that is very interesting, Sean. After all, the Catholic Church did institute the Dum Diversas, which was then given universal authority to whom? To nations. To act on behalf of the church to institute war. Yes. Yes, they can. Oh, y'all have to also remember back in 2024, they already did that. They already sent a delegation on out there to the Catholic Church. I told you, I sat down with the man that was leading that charge and providing written arguments. At that time, it was very, oh, what's the word that I want to say? Yeah, Garth and I sat there. It was very explosive. I even presented that here on this channel a couple months ago, or actually a couple years ago. You say serendipitous, Garth, I say it was explosive. And his argument is as such: it is the Dum Diversus, the papal bull of Nicholas V, 1453. All those bywords that was there, basically it was all the Israelites that they could find. Go ahead, round them up, send them over to the New World, and have them here in this multi-generational prison, which is why I call it a multi-generational prison. Because why? Because they cannot argue against the church. I'm not saying that the church did. Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't say it. The church did. See that? It was the church. Oh, this is going to go to not just inflammatory, it's explosive. This thing's explosive like eating a pot full of black-eyed peas and chitlins on New Year's Eve and having to pay the price the very next day, filling all of that crystals. Woo! Not a main burn. That level of explosiveness. Oh. Mind you, I don't need any of that. Yeah, see, yeah, you're right, Minister Rick. See, the reality is the whole FBA controversy, it's a faulty one. Mr. Rick says your foundation is only as good as the ground it's standing on. Sinkhole equals fail. Geofault line equals fail. Mudslide equals fail. FBA question. And Jermaine says, yep, those papal bulls ain't never lied. No, they haven't. They're still in effect. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing on the world stage, because again, how do you affect Europe? And it's not that you affect Europe. How do you affect Rome? You affect Rome by affecting Europe. See, when it gets too hot and those people stop protesting the government, and then the government say, hey, guess what? This was the church mandated this. This wasn't our fault. Then guess where that attention gets turned to? You know, that whole, oh, peace, 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 blah, blah nonsense. Oh, we're looking for world peace. No, they're not. They're looking to ensure their survivability is optimal because they are literally losing ground. Because why? Because we've been saying, I said this since 2021. It's always been the Catholic Church. I've always knew that because everybody would defer. No, you don't have to file multiple cases. And matter of fact, these cases are already filed. They are actually in fact already filed. You just don't know that they're filed because they won't tell you that they've been filed. Surprise! Yeah, you're not going to hear about these cases being there in the ICC and ICJ. Surprise! You're not going to hear about delegations being sent over on behalf of the African diaspora to make amends, to make reparations, not just to have an acknowledgement. Nope. Acknowledgements are too easy. No, we need to be restored. How do you get restored? Well, a couple things are going to happen. You see these nice gold and silver. Well, guess what? We're going to take that away. Who are you going to take it away through? Oh, we're going to take it away via bricks. What? Not going to happen. And now you see it happening. And now you see Trump was saying he's going to destroy bricks. And now you see Russia. Russia was saying, what, in 2022? It's a holy war. Because why? Because you had to start some sort of a kinetic event. No, we cannot file against Babylon. You, as a prisoner of war, cannot file against Babylon. I cannot file against Babylon. Understand the tactics and maneuverings that they're making by allowing the 6th region of the African Union and the 17th region of Ghana. Understand the chess game that's being played here. There's chess to this. There's tactics and maneuvers to this. You just can't say, hey, we're going to file. You cannot. You have no legal standing. You're technically a prisoner of war. Don't worry. I'm a prisoner of war too. It's okay. We all are. It's just now you have to understand the legal analysis that is at play and that's at work because they're not going to tell you. Exactly, Minister Rick. We have no standing. Brother Asas says, yes, it has to be a state to file, but our people in the diaspora too, I want to say stupid. They're not as educated. And it's our ignorance. And it's our ignorance. Because we do think that we have some sort of, universal leverage based off of us living here in the system, especially the United States. He continues to realize that this cannot be done on an individual basis. It cannot be done on an individual basis. And actually, it cannot be done on a basis of being in a papal state. America's a papal state. Europe are papal states. The only states that are not papal states are located in Africa. Therefore, this lawsuit, it has to originate out of either an extra governmental organization, which is the African Union, or through another state-based organization or regional-based organizations like an ECOWAS or an AES. And right now, the more than likely, those front runners are AES, which is why, in my opinion, which is exactly why you have now the quote unquote terrorist and terrorism up in Niger. And that's why they're trying to go to Niger first to destabilize. It is literally taken down, yes, the Holy Roman Empire. It is literally taken down the Holy Roman Empire via lawfare. You had economic warfare. Now you're going to have legal warfare or lawfare. And then when that ends up happening, then you'll have something quickly called warfare. Then kinetic operations must begin. They're not going to begin the way you think it's going to begin. Bear in mind, it's not going to begin the way you think it's going to begin. What it will end up happening is this. As I stated this, now we're going to get into some of this meat and potatoes, because why? Because I didn't say it. They said it. In terms of how many months they think they have, in terms of how quickly this thing is going to go. Oh, wow. Well, it's just January 1st. It's June and they're looking at the ICC, ICJ. Oh, yeah, because they're going to look at everything. So now that we have the U.S. to account, look, the U.S. has charges on it. Y'all didn't understand this. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? I think we did. In this community, I know we did. The U.S. got charges on it. The U.S. has had charges pressed on it by other nations on our behalf. Remember, this is why they wanted to defund the ICC and ICJ. They wanted to defund The Hague. But now it's too late. They're losing their power, their status, and their authority, which actually means, somebody can now get prosecuted. Why? What does it take for prosecution? If your power becomes diminished. The easiest way to weaken a superpower is to weaken their economy, which then means that it weakens their resources. Oh, and by the way, South Africa said they're not sending any more chickens to the United States as of today. I wonder how many other resources, commodities, produce, cattle, things of that nature. What else is being limited to the United States? Yeah, no, they could actually prosecute George Bush. They could prosecute Rumsfeld, except he's dead. They could prosecute, other folks, Cheney even too, and he's dead. There's a whole bunch of people in that pecking order. They could prosecute most of the cabinet in this current administration. They could. But what they'll do and what they'll say, they'll play it politically nice. They'll say, hey, we feel as though we need some security guarantees for people. And let me tell you how slick this is. Let me tell you how slick this is going to be. Can I tell you how slick this is going to be? they'll still have the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, the Federation of International Football Association. I don't think someone was listening to the conversation on out there. Understand, for people that will want to travel to see their team, well, we don't feel safe in the United States. We're a targeted country here in the United States. We feel safe if we had international overseers. What were they getting people ready for this last year? They had the shock and awe to get out the National Guard troops into the neighborhood. Exactly. They'll have UN observers. Oh, you know that's coming. See, you have to understand everything's a timeline, everything's a time frame. In April, I guarantee in April, you're going to start to see, oh, well, this is going to be immigration and this and that and this and that. Then July, around April, just late April, then July, then you're going to have, hey, there's a response to that. We need to make sure the UN, hey, America, just play nice. We haven't struck you. We haven't done anything to you. This whole oil tanker thing is going to go on for probably quite a while. But they're doing this on purpose. It is literally, it's a timing issue. Yeah, it is. It is, Brother Dave. It's all scripted. At that time, then people are going to start panicking. Well, why do we have a foreign force on our soil? They'll come up with some cover story. Well, you know they're going to help us because there has been a lot of this terrorist blah 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 blah, narco terrorism blah 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 blah. They're going to try to fentanyl people to deletion blah 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 blah. Don't worry, they're going to be incorporated with the federal government. I laugh because I could see the setup coming. It's an interesting setup, to say the least. Yeah, thank you, brother. You know, the reality is this is it's pretty interesting to see how AI will literally bring in these articles for you. I'm just looking at the Copilot article. I'll share that here. We'll cover this on the fly. Here we go. I'll uh I'll I'll start here. Um it was asked why descendants of the transatlantic slave trade have grounds to pursue reparations from the Catholic Church. And it's going here. It's given the synopsis, the abstract, but it has here reparations advocates argue that descendants of enslaved Africans have both a compelling ethical claim and a legally arguable basis to seek redress from the church, an institution that not only sanctioned slavery, but materially benefited from it for centuries. And it's showing Black World Analysis, Institute of the Black World's Analysis, backbone of the slave trade. And it shows papal decrees in earlier centuries explicitly authorized the enslavement of non-Christian peoples, laying ideological groundwork for European expansion and exploitation. The church did not formally oppose slavery until long after the practice had become globally condemned. Because why? Because they're the ones that instituted it. Why are they going to condemn something that they didn't institute? But they didn't change anything. And by then, it already benefited from centuries of forced labor, wealth accumulation, and land acquisition tied to enslaved Africans. Yep. In 2022, a delegation from the Global Circle for Reparations and Healing met with Vatican officials to present a detailed account of the church's involvement in the slave trade and the ongoing harms experienced by descendants. During the meeting, Bishop Paul Tige stated that the moment is right for the church to seriously consider these harms under Pope Francis's leadership. Well, it's no longer Pope Francis anymore. So reparations advocates argue that the acknowledgement is a first step, but not a substitute for material repair. Now, that's what we're getting to, is material repair. Because all of this is, and it stems from, a perpetual effect of religious dogmatic practices. The effects of the transatlantic slave trade continue to cause systematic damage to this day. That's the national African American. Let me get the. You should have it. The National African American Reparations Commission. So they can just do studies and findings, but they really can't do anything, say anything. They can present a whole bunch of information, but again, that has to be based off of a nation or regional alliance that can only make the case on our behalf. The case of racial wealth gaps, disparity in education, health, and housing, cultural erasure, loss of land and lineage, intergenerational trauma. Now, understand the Catholic Church itself has engaged in repertory actions in other contexts, including abuse scandals in indigenous boarding schools. The whole case in Canada has literally opened the way for all this. Now, what the Catholic Church will do, they'll defer. They will defer that to the other countries. We had no standing army. We had nothing to do with this. Actually, they'll say we had something to do with this, but we had no standing army. Those ones that actually did all that, they need to pay. We just gave the decree, but they did the work. Take it from them first. Take it from them first. So why do you think that people are so afraid? Why do you think that this administration, for the most part, is afraid? It's not that I'm going to say this. This administration was here to, I'm going to say, if I may be so bold, they're here to systematically dissolve the United States. It's a bankruptcy. I had this conversation with a person by the name of Sifaway Balaka. And we had a great discussion regarding this. And he had sent folks to that delegation. Yeah, but you have to understand, as Minister Rick had said, where the 90 billion went to, it went to an actual state. It went to an area that was of land that was controlled. So I know our people. That's a spiritual short circuit that we get for our people, especially as we're still here in Babylon. And I get it. I understand. As I had stated this a while ago, I said this. I said, look, it's going to be real simple. What they're going to say is this: if you want reparations, you will need to attain reparations outside of the continental United States. So when you're seeing these AI videos of it's all these people fleeing, and they're fleeing because of this and that, and they hear the horn. I mean, I get it. That's nice and theatrics. It's good. I understand it. I get it. But do you not think that the message is more practical? Would it not be more of a practical messaging? Hey, as part of our efforts to reclassify you all as American citizens, this is what they'll say. I'm just giving you a little bit of the groundwork because I'm probably giving them language. Believe it or not, I'm probably giving them language. Oh, that's what that Negro was talking about. Oh, that sounds great. Let's steal his language. Yep, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, he knows. Oh man, we've racked our brains around this. We've had AI try to think for us, Brainiac, and this Negro right here, he gives us the information. Oh, this is wonderful. And we talked about this. Now you're starting to see what a system that is collapsing, a system that is depressed. You saw it from the horse's mouth. My man didn't say 2027. He didn't say 2028. He said this year. He said within a few months. They're going to say this. They're going to say, okay, calm down, slow down. We're going to have a nice, orderly fashion. This is just my personal opinion. As you now see with these countries with repatriation efforts that have talked about repatriation efforts. Now, the U.S. is kind of duplicitous on this one. They'll try to say, hey, we want you back, but then they'll say, well, but we need you to go. But we want you back. Because if you're on out there, oh man, look at all this stuff happen. Look at these wars. Look at what's going on in Nigeria. Look at what the region is going on. Because people don't care about why the bombs are going off. People don't care about why people are fighting. They only care about the people are fighting. They don't care about the context. You know that they were just bombing there, right? Oh, well, I has nothing to do with me. I'm just trying to make sure I get on over here and get my ticket and get in line to get back. I've been saying this. No, because I mean I just said this before, but I mean y'all are now starting to understand and realize this because it came from the white pill bottle. Hey, we're gonna get you on out here. Everybody's gonna be issued a passport. Matter of fact, you're not gonna be issued a passport, even if you have ID. We don't need to worry about ID. Try to have your birth certificate. Try to have your social security. Some sort of a card. Man, I don't even care. What do they call you? Let's just make sure that you have a plane ticket. Then you can be legally processed into the area, into the region. Once you're processed, then we'll get you into this area so then you can await your processing to go back to the United States. And you know, when I said that a couple months ago, I said that back in like what, August, September. People are like, that doesn't make sense. That would never happen. That won't make sense. You can't see that happening. Yeah, Pam Bondi did say that. Mr. Rick says, Pam, Bondi, Super Karen. If you self-deport, you may have an opportunity to come back. May have an opportunity. Again, they're going to use that same language with us. Well, we could have an opportunity to come back. No, I'm giving you the synopsis of how people may be leaving. Because at that point in time, just think about this. More than likely, you're going to have a reduced economic environment. Very much reduced. Then people will be all aboard, not us. It'll be them. Our people will be freaking out and panicking. Oh my goodness, they actually want to send us on back. Oh my goodness. No, don't worry. You'll go over and then you get processed and you come back over legally. I'm telling you, the US already has the perfect out. It's actually the perfect out for the United States. Hey, our forefathers didn't know this. Our forefathers really didn't understand this. And in today's environment, look, we want to live righteously. Isn't that it? Hey, we now read Colossians chapter 1. We want to live righteously. We realize that not living righteously and our fruits, well, this is bad fruit, so we need to get back on the track. This is the first way to do it. We're going to right our wrongs. We're going to finally address the sins of our forefathers. Come on, black folks. There you go. Get on the ships. Even way by to you. See you later. Oh, those white nationalists will be like, why are you trying to get them on the boat? When they get on the boat, our top cover is gone. We know that they're the Most High's people. Our shield is gone. This is what, see, up until a couple months ago, oh, that's not real. That wouldn't happen. Now you understand. Now you understand why Trump said, hey, for a lot of you all, this may be your last Christmas. Oh, he wasn't talking to the majority. He wasn't talking to the majority of Americans. See, y'all didn't understand what Trump was actually meaning there, because a lot of our people don't understand the actual legalistic nuances that's there. And I know that hurts a lot of our people. Wait, we may have to be confronted with this? Absolutely. People act like there's not a war going on in Venezuela right now, that there's not a siege operation going on in Venezuela right now. And I'm going to tell you, I said this, one of the biggest catalysts that will create that impact is that, excuse me, you'll have European nations urging the United States to do the right thing. And on top of that, you'll have European nations, I guarantee you this, and it's not for, oh, just to be, just to help. We want to make sure that we're helping and we're this and that. No. You're going to have European nations say, hey, we're going to provide flights to the continent. KLM and Air France, Air Iberia, Lufthansa. We're going to give you free flights. Don't worry. We'll fly you from Chicago and Memphis and Dallas nonstop. Yeah, it'll probably bring cruise ships too. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do a cruise ship or just a flight. Yeah, Alexis won't even say when Christmas 2026 is. Man, so is we or is we not going to have a December 25th? Riddle me that, Alexa. Ha ha ha. I can tell that by your voice pattern and your frequency that you are called a so-called African American. Well, it may not be Christmas for you. Oh, actually, it will definitely not be Christmas for you here in the United States. People talk about you're gonna miss Christmas because people are gonna be poor. No. Yeah, when just to have an honest conversation. Yeah, Jermaine is saying this. Our leaving will certainly cause mixed responses. And then later realization of what really happened. And I'm going to tell you this. We think that, oh, we're just going to up and go and this and that. I'm going to tell you, the moment that this like literally gets stated by this administration, and I know that what I'm saying feels impossible. But hey, listen, turning the DOD or the DOW into the Pirates of the Caribbean, that seemed impossible too. I'm just saying. A lot of things that seemed impossible, they materialized in 2025. Oh, that's not going to happen. Oh, they'll never do that. They'll never deploy this. They'll never start doing that. Man, they had alligator Alcatraz. In 2025, my dog Ray and I went to alligator Alcatraz. Stop playing. They had to literally cut a 60 minutes broadcast regarding the deportation prisons, holding facilities, whatever you want to call it, you name it. They have people, U.S. citizens, being shipped out of here, never to be heard from again. Stop playing. You have Dave Chappelle talking about my code response. Oh my goodness. I think a cruise ship would take actually 14 to 21 days. It's 14 to 21 days depending on the weather. They'd sail up the North Atlantic coast, North Atlantic coast, and then they drop down probably from like a England or a probably Portugal, probably go to Lisbon. Hey, we're just trying to be more global. We want to be able to set the example of our global reparations initiative. Why can't we get paid in dollars? You just had what Rafi Farber had said. For those that are getting in, I have that. You'll have to do the replay. That was about an hour or so ago. When he was saying, look, you're going to have to sell your house just to get a week's worth of groceries. No. So that's not just 14 to 21 days, like all straight out at sea. You'll have some intermittent port calls. Like you may go to like Newfoundland. You may run over into like Belfast or somewhere else in like the south UK coast. Yeah. Now, for those people that again, then it's going to feel very interesting. I told because people are acting like this stuff was never going to happen. Literally almost 2 weeks ago, they were talking about, oh yeah, the 14th Amendment and all that other stuff. They're still deciding. They're still deliberating, of course. They're going to deliberate until about March, April. You're going to start hearing some rumblings. And then they're going to say, oh, there's going to be something very, very interesting, right? You'll hear it on CNN with the little folks. You'll hear this on the Midas Touch. You even hear it in some conservative circles. Oh, well, the Trump regime and all the other stuff. It doesn't even matter to me. They're all on one accord. But then you'll have people saying, hey, well, if that's the case, they need to make sure that people are calling back and, they're coming back, that they're doing this, they're doing that, and then people see. They'll get on out there. Number one, they'll say, hey, we're going to get you processed so you can get on back there, but it's going to take a little bit because we have to do this, this, and this, right? They'll give you some administrative red tape. I believe that our people will be there. Then they'll start to say, you know what? I stayed here for a little bit. I actually don't mind it. A lot of stuff and progress is growing. In the first 30 days, it went from like this to that, or a lot of our people are on out there. We're getting, this together. We're building this, we're building that. There's been on the ground work. There's been this and that. There's actually been a lot of coordination, and we can process these resources like that. I think I'm going to say we have abundant food. We have clean drinking water, and more so, we just feel light. It feels different here. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? When you get out of the United States and you understand what it really feels like to not be in an oppressive regime, hurry back now. Don't go native. Oh, you know what? He went native. But you know what, though? I'm glad I went native. My skin feels better. I can move around. My health is improved. Well, the guy says I miss. Yeah, because it feels different. It feels a certain sort of way. I would say honestly, Ghana as the 17th region. I think that that's a little bit. Just in my personal opinion, people are like, "Oh yeah, Burkina Faso and this and that." Burkina Faso, it is nice, like it is, but it's not there just yet. Like you can't over inundate an infrastructure that's still kind of shaky. Now, keep in mind they're making strides to the infrastructure, but it's like this. Um, Here in Florida, you have housing developments. You have housing developments that spring up on there, all this other stuff. They get the plots and everything else. You start to see the main and the return lines and everything else. And they plot the street corners. You get all the lots and everything together, but then they'll have one house. You just can't move hundreds of people into an area. You only have one house. So there's still a couple things that need to go on. To me, Ghana's like, okay, well, you have apartments for rent. These apartments, they're okay. They're not the greatest, but guess what? You're just living here until you get your house built. You still have the amenities. You still have your downtown. You still have your shopping. You still have good food. You still have good culture. And some people may just choose, you know what? I'd just rather be in this apartment. It's easy. I don't need to worry about a car. I don't need to worry about a drive. I don't need to worry about nothing. But when people start to see that, then guess what? All these other countries over in the continent, then they're going to start to say, you know what? Oh, man, we need to bring them on in here too. Oh, you think those houses were nice? You think that land is nice? Come on over here. Get yourself something right over there. Well, does it have the same security? Does it have all the amenities? Does it have, you know, they'll say no, but you can make it happen. Or bring your folks, and guess what? You can make that happen. Well, family, last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next Christmas, Alexa just said, "No Christmas at all, not even on the calendar." What? Say what? We need to save Christmas. I'm surprised they didn't have any like evangelicals on there. I rebuke you, Alexa, in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you. And everyone starts speaking in tongues, start putting olive oil on Alexa. You just start seeing Alexa just smoking out and sparkling. But the very next day, Trump gave it away to. Oh, brother ASAP, thank you for the gift. Look, brother ASAP said my house is not far from KFC in Ghana, and let me tell you, man, they be having real chicken. That'd be real chicken and real flour. Mm. that orange soda so good, make you want to smack your mama with less sugars. Oh, now I had their equivalent of some turnip greens with like turmeric. It was pretty good. I'm not going. It was really good. It really did remind me of my grandmother's cooking because she was from South Carolina. It reminded me of her cooking, and she like fish and grits. Who here grew up with fish and grits? Come on now, I know folks grew up with fish and grits. I know some of us country. I know some of us country right now. You don't have to impress nobody. Oh, that's what it was. Now that food will burn a hole in you, but guess what? After 2 days, you start to feel good. Like, dang, this stuff is healthy. Man, that fruit is healthy. Oh, this coconut is good. Oh, what? I call it coconut meat because it'll do the little soft coconut little meat in there. And then you drink the coconut. Mm, you drink that water. That thing is a hydrator. It hydrates you very well. I'll just read some of your comments. Brother Hayes says, warn them they have to take it easy or they will be visiting the small room very often. Yes, they will. And let me tell you, when you gonna be when you since none of y'all be knowing how to use that hose, there's gonna be water stains, all that you cracked. Be having some soggy draws on. Why does this man? Why does she look like she just got off a horse? Brother, you look like you just got off of the water oxen. Tis, 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 tis. Brother. Ah. Oh. Oh no, you got to try it from real coconuts, Pitsy Dust. From the real coconuts. Yep. I grew on, Margarita says, I grew on fish and grits at home, but got shrimp and grits in Florence, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where my family is from. Yeah, my family's about a hour and a half from I think both areas. No, they grill that fish. You could grill the fish. You could pan fry the fish. Shoot, you can even bake the fish. Yeah, yeah, Sean, they'll give you articles, but they'll never say they are. They'll say how they may be related, how this and that. They'll never give you distinct articles. And it doesn't like to quote from resources outside the United States. So you have to be understanding of that. Yeah, I mean, you have coconuts here in Florida, but nobody be doing coconuts like that. I mean, look, they be coming through with the bushloads of coconut. They just drop the coconut right off their bikes, their bike trucks. Then at the end of the day, then they clean up all the coconut in their little coconut trash disposal. And if you recycle coconut right, that's actually a very good resource. It's a good raw materials. And I guarantee if you do it right, it's probably better than most plastics. Probably a really great biodegradable component. We just have to get on out there and, get our little chemistry tests, chemistry things going on and, producing different things. Hey, we do this, we do that, and guess what? It's biodegradable. Keeps most of its resources. We even use it for lining. For crops and things of that nature. There's a lot of biodegradable sources that are on out there. That's actually a good byproduct for very good usage. Yeah, and our scientists, our smart people and engineers, they'll be playing around with that for years, generations, decades. See, I think we'll automate, but we'll automate in a very responsible way, not just automating just so they can produce Terminators. If you notice, it's not automating for anything that's helping with life. They automate literally for the purposes of war. What do you think? They said the number one net person that gets to automation or AI wins the AI war. They're literally talking war. I believe that they're literally talking AI, like, to be quite honest, like AI in the sense of no kidding, Terminators. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. John Connor, I am from the future. We need to save the planet in the future. Africa controls everything. Oh, we lost to the apes. They'll be replaying the Charleston Heston scene. They did it. They finally did it. It's really not funny, but I think we get the point. Oh, this is going to be an interesting year. I'm not going to wager on anything. I'm really not. But I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a lot of things going on. Now, I'm not going to say that people are going to be up and leaving, right away. I'm not going to say that. They'll offer, how this thing goes. They'll offer different programs. Excuse me. And then they'll quite simply they'll say that people, quote unquote, need to be compliant by this date. They'll let in one or two folks, they'll let in some celebrities. Hey, I went there. If you can go there and travel and get your real citizenship. And they'll break it on up. They'll be like, hey, this window. Here are these locations. That's how you got to understand how this place works. That's how America works. They'll show you what they want you to see. The reality, you get on out there, uh-oh. But I thought I was just going to be able to go there and go on back. I saw all these people do it. How come they do it? Well, one of it is, one of the things it was working like that, but what had happened was, you know what I'm saying? What had happened was, give it a few more weeks. All right. I mean, I'm trying to get back to work. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. It's like the military. When people go off to war, they got soldiers and sailors relief. It's the same thing. You got your repatriation relief. Your repatriation relief. They know that it's going to take a little bit of time. No system is perfect. I'm sorry. but we're going to try and get you back to normal as soon as possible. What's normal? Oh, no. Your new normal. We're going to try and get you back to your new normal as soon as possible. Now, and Echo Bella, you're right. I think that, to be honest, for the Deagle report, I think it's like it's like in a block, right? I believe it's within that, maybe even 5 or 10 or decade span. That 5-year or decade span, I believe that that's the block. So, for the decade of 2025, because remember, we have like what is it like? Let me see this. I want to Google this again. It's like decade of return. Yeah. They have like a decade of return, which is back in 2019. But again, this is all in a campaign. So a lot of people don't understand that there's actually Agenda 2063. And part of Agenda 2063, one of their tenets, or their highlight, is that it is social restoration. And this last coming year, 2025, was actually the year of reparations. So I'll just put this on out here in the chat. Yeah, it's Agenda 2063. That's what I'm saying. Look, these next 3 decades are going to be very interesting for us. I believe that we're going to be in an interesting manner, per se. It's going to be interesting. Because I believe it'll start with the United States first. It'll start here, and then it'll be worldwide. Then it'll start to get global. And the reason I say that is simply because of this. You would then have other nations seeing what's happening, and then people want to leave. Oh wow, they did all this in this amount of time. I'm out of here. Now for the U.S., they're not going to have a choice, because now think about this. Think about this. If the U.S. was made for this, for judgment, right? U.S. was made for judgment. What do you think these other nations are going to do? Well, they're going to scapegoat the U.S. It's not our fault. What do you think the Catholic Church is going to do? They're going to scapegoat the U.S. It's their fault. We disavowed all that stuff, and remember, that's the U.S. They got that covered. Everybody's going to be pointing fingers, and the U.S. is going to be the biggest finger. It's their fault. It's them. They caused all this. They did all this. They're duplicitous. They're 2-timing. That's what these other nations are going to say. It's an easy cover because why? They're not trying to lose their access to the continent. Now, let me caveat that. They're going to have a reduced access, but they're not going to lose their access. I'm sorry, family. Just a second. All right, there we go. I'm back. Yeah, the hegemon made us do it. Yeah, that's what they're going to say. We didn't do, that wasn't our fault. You know, everybody's gonna have an alibi. Look, we were trying to not do it, but they 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 send us to this island in the Bahamas off the coast of Florida. I didn't know what I was going. I thought I was going on a day trip. I thought I was going on a fishing cruise. I don't know. All of a sudden, I'm surrounded. All of a sudden, something had happened. The details are a little fuzzy to me. I'm sure that was the excuse Prince Andrew had. I mean, Mr. Andrew, Sir Andrew. I don't even know what else to call him. Mr. Windsor. Now the case is he going to get prosecuted? Brother ASAP, is my man going to get prosecuted? I mean, he's not my man. He's not my man, But can they prosecute a royal? Well, they took the title away, but man, can they prosecute? That's what I wonder. Said call him Andy. We call him Sticky Finger Andy. Andy with the Epstein candy. Oh my goodness. Oh no. They called him Candy Andy. Oh no. My goodness. Nasty. The question I always have, where are these girls as parents? This is why, dads, you need to be in your daughters' lives. That was me. I wasn't a helicopter parent with my daughters, but I told my daughter, I said, y'all know better. Y'all understand better. Y'all understand how you're supposed to carry yourself. You understand how you're supposed to protect yourself. They did a good job. But then when I'm in school and I see some of these kids, and I just look, I'm like, man, I pray over these. I pray over these kids. I just say a prayer for them, like Father help them. In the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, Father help them. They got mad at me because I said, no, you need to step back. I said, you're in my personal space. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, look, people have a personal bubble, and when you get into that personal bubble, it can be uncomfortable. I'm just telling you where my comfort zone is, and you have to be right there. That's my comfort zone. Now we can have a discussion. And these kids, they think it's funny, but then it's like, here's the reality. The reality that you have those predators. And then it's the reality that you have those parents. And that's a shame. The question that I always have to ask myself is, if that was just done 20, 30 years ago, how rampant is that today? Do people look at that as, is that normal behavior? Carla, thank you for the super sticker. Hallelujah. Thank you. This behavior is not normal. We're living in a time where, what does it say? Good is evil and evil is good. You can't say that. You can't talk about our kids and having our kids being righteous. My youngest son, he went back to school. He had been homeschooled. He went back. And I talked to him at least every other day. I'll give him a call, reach on out to him. How was his day? How would he do? How did he do? How was this and that? The great thing about my kids, they have that that learning aptitude, especially with my daughters. My son, he had to get it later in life. It's now clicking for him as he's trying to get to a major university on out here while pursuing his dreams of playing soccer. But my kids had given me a report about my youngest son, the king's daughter. Thank you for the gift. Hallelujah. They ratted him out. They said, Dad, he's not doing his work. He's doing this. He's falling behind. He's not doing this, and this. I had to talk to my son. I said, listen, son, You're not. You ain't in a school in the hood where they're just gonna socially promote you. No, no, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You're at an A++ school. You in the suburbs. And plus, you're my kid. So you need to act like you have some sense. Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. All right, Dad. Got it, Dad. Okay, Dad. 13 will be 14 years old this year. But you know, it's crazy. We went over these studies. They don't even give these they don't give these kids a chance. And it's scary because this is a generation. This is a war generation. These are the kids that they want to then draft. These are draftees. Oh, you're talking about AI, man? You don't need no AI. Draftees. Defend the motherland. Defend the homeland. Stay in this position because you all know why? Because half of y'all can't even run more than a mile and can't really carry more than 20, 25 pounds for 30 yards. So sit here in the foxhole. Yeah, and Cynthia, and that's what it is because he does all those lessons. You know, if and I get that. I get that with a lot of the kids that I have, you know, if they're real smart, then they just become lazy and then they become entitled. And yes, this was absolutely by design. They just didn't kill our kids intellectually. They killed our kids physically. You know, one of the things that I am so concerned about, and it's not funny, it's actually very it's very sad. You can tell that a lot of our kids are very, very, very overweight. You don't even know the amount of juvenile diabetes kids that I have to deal with. It's so sad. It is very shameful. It's sad to see 13, 14-year olds that literally have to position themselves in a way to get into a door. Let alone some of them can't even sit at a desk. I'm the only one that still has like the little individual desk. All the other classes, they do the chairs. And I'm gonna have to switch out the chairs. Because some of the kids can't even sit in the chairs. I kid you not. The reality is, that with like the school um pew pews and everything else. The saddest thing, and I'm sorry, I do think like this. I'm sorry because I in those classrooms I have to think about everything, and I think about more things than most because of my military background. And but I had thought about this. It came across my mind. You have a school pew pewer. The reality is, it's. I'm not even afraid of the weapons or the rounds. I'm afraid that that kid would go into so much panic that their heart will literally give out. They literally have these kids, and I kid, it's so sad. It makes me want to cry on blood pressure medicines. Where they have to constantly get water to deal with the juvenile diabetes. They don't want to say that they have juvenile diabetes because their metabolism is still working, but it's so overworked and overstrained. They'll go from one class to another, literally less than 20, 30 feet. And they're breathing hard. They're late for their doorbells. And I asked them, like, hey, how come you're not stepping up the pace? But then I had to start realizing to myself, that is their pace. Can you not move faster? No, they can't. There are physical deficits that literally we have as a people. Our people are literally we're sitting ducks. Jacoba said something very interesting the other day. Yesterday when he was talking about Jerusalem. Well, they did everything to have a siege. They broke down the city, not through warfare, but through dependence and reliance. Our people have been broken down with dependence and reliance. And now we're in trouble. I know, I remember. I had the gym uniforms. I remember that. They give you 5 minutes to change. You do your activity for about 35 minutes. And then you had 10 minutes to change to shower and change. I made sure though that I did my gym at the end of the school year. Excuse me, school day. 2 years straight, I had gym at the end of the school day. Reason being is because I hated being funky. But I really didn't want to take a shower with all those funky folks. I'd go home, I'd take a shower, then I'd go to work. It worked out. I loved it. Nah, I did that my June, or excuse me, my freshman and sophomore year, and they did that on purpose for the freshmen and sophomores. You know, they made you be funky. You had to be taking a shower and like, I'm gonna be man, why are they staring at me? I have my gym locker. I don't even care. I have my gym locker. They'd be like, "Oh, you're weird for taking a shower. Like, what do you think they got showers there?" I said, "Do you live on a barn?" And it was the black kids that always took a shower. Yeah, this is a totally different mindset that we have here with our children, and it is very. Yeah, Mr. W. Yeah, I remember that. In New Jersey, yeah, there are some cold showers, especially in the winter. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But then when you get out of the showers, then you got to make sure you know that you had the grease in your hair so you can get them waves going. Do I got enough cologne on? Did I put deodorant on? Can't be funky. Oh, the times that we had that our children didn't. Pray for our kids. They are in trouble. People say, pray for this nation. Nah, I pray that this nation, I pray that the Most High declares everything that He has declared. He does everything that He has declared for this nation. That's it. No more, no less. I don't need to say anything else. What are you trying to say? That's all I'm trying to say. I don't need to say anything else. Have you noticed that they're not able to pull us into those emotional arguments anymore? I get people in here on the chat. They may be new to this channel. They may not truly understand this community. But a lot of our people don't go into those straw mans and ad hominems that they love to do. Oh, we're going to be on the Mediterranean. Okay. You could be on the Mediterranean. And I can tell people are new to this channel. Because even when I show my pictures of me being on the Mediterranean, in Alexandria, Virginia, where Rome would land their ships. That was their major port city. Why? Because it's the same place that they had the Greeks. In less than a day's walk, you're over towards the Red Sea, and then you're sailing down the Red Sea. And then you're getting over into Somalia. Actually, I don't have to prove anything. You can go and read True Jerusalem by Jacoba Aveo. I've been on the ground. I'm good. They even try to tell you don't take pictures. Because why? Because those are all Greek and Roman outposts. But people don't know. So, you know what? Sorry to burst people's bubbles. I'm glad Jacoba did bring that on out. Because even militaristically, you need to have access to the Nile. The Nile literally goes into the heart of Africa. It's funny all of a sudden, though, that you now have Somaliland. Because why? Because they're now going back to their outpost. When the deal goes down, when everything falls apart, you have to try to reinsert yourself in those familiar areas. They were always in control of the major waterways. Rulership by proxy has always been the standard. It has always been the standard. And then when people get out of hand, just like with the embassy, guess what you do? You have to call in a strike force. And then you have to label those folks as some sort of dissidents and things of that nature. And again, like I said, you have folks here that haven't been in this channel very long, and I get it. I definitely get it. But I don't go through with their straw man arguments. Because again, listen, a lot of folks, they've never been to those areas. I always ask people, have you even ever been over there? Have you even ever been to the Dead Sea or over off of the Jordan River? Well, you're being vague. On this channel, I've shown the places that I've been. At 3 hours into this broadcast, as I'm getting on out of here, I don't need to prove anything to you. You can go and get yourself a copy of True Jerusalem by Yacoba Iveo. You can go get yourself a copy of that. But that's all I have, family. It's funny when I say, look, I you can take all of that energy and you could go talk to Yacoba. I'm not going to debate you. That's not me. That is a book, though, that's there that has references and resources. And so I'm giving you that primary source. You must not have been on this channel very long. I don't need to do that. So with that, that's what we always go through. And you know, that's the new construct right now. So they can't prove that they can no longer disprove that we're the people. So now they try to say, well, it's not Africa. That's the new construct. Because why? Because the trillions of dollars in resources that they want you to mind-bogglingly give up for some dirt on the ground, literal dirt on the ground. One of the things that I tell people, I'm like, look, do a satellite imagery. What Yacoba presented yesterday, go to Yacoba. Yeah, look, go to his channel, Tail Ministries. There you go. But I said this, do a map overlay. It's real simple. You overlay a map. Okay. Okay, brother. I got it, brother. So, if that's your argument, all you're going to be doing is sourcing text from them. But nobody wants to talk about Hadrian. Nobody's going to talk about any of the different Greek and Roman decrees that have been made over the time period. Nobody's going to talk about the actual names of those locations and those places during the time before the Council of Nicaea. Oh, yeah, I got those pictures too, and I showed those pictures in that area. Circa 100 to 200 AD, because, oh, guess what? They hadn't changed the names yet. People can argue that Jerusalem is in Virginia. You could do a Google map. I can give it to you in 5 minutes. That doesn't mean anything. Well, why not? Just because it's the newest version or newest iteration doesn't mean that that's the actual place. I could buy some land over literally in the Everglades and then get it registered with the post office and pay for that post office registration to have an incorporated town through the state of Florida and call Jerusalem, Florida. It's simple. No, the Most High has given me understanding, and I'm pretty good with it. But again, to me, it's just a frivolous argument. Because there's one thing I know about people, when you start to see the patterns, I do read people's comments. And I see the frameworks of what they try to do and how they try to do things within the couple days. This is why they literally hate history before certain dates, certain periods. It just throws off the narrative. And that's okay. I get it. And that's the simple ad hominem straw man, ad populist attack that you're going to get. Because he'll come to this channel, but I didn't write a book on it. Why don't you go to Jacobo? He wrote the book. That's not an argument, which I don't care anything about. Wailing Wall. It was a fort. It was a Roman fort. Those are all Roman garrisons. But if you know anything about the Middle East, those are all Greeks and Romans anyway. You're literally just fighting Greeks and Romans. That's all that is. Technically speaking, in the Eastern Mediterranean area, they both do actually have a claim. Technically speaking. No, I'm not going to start that. And here's the thing. Again, this is my channel. If you want to talk or debate someone, that's Jacoba. He wrote a couple books on it. That's him. My book is The Rise of Africa. We could talk about Africa all the day long. I've worked in the Middle East. Okay. I've been there, done that. Talked to the folks, understood the folks. You may even find some of them here in the United States. I'll actually tell you the truth. But they've been programmed because why? Because again, if you've been threatened to be deported, if you say certain things, then guess what? You're going to stick with the narrative. It's real simple. Sea just doesn't necessarily mean sea. It could also be oceans, bodies of water. But yeah, that's what I have, family. I actually do have to get up on out of here and get some work done. Thank you, family, for your support. Before I go, let me go ahead. I'll put this on in here for Amazon. So our people don't. Well, I'm going to say this. So there's a little less confusion. But again, you can give people all the sources and everything else. It is what it is. Oh, I know. Those, and when you entertain stuff like that, it's like, you're feeding you're feeding this. Oh no, he's been itching for about 3 days. he's been itching. But there it is. Go get yourself a copy. If you notice, I haven't even put his name or any of the comments. There's a link. True Jerusalem. You can spend all the time you need to go ahead and rebuff all those comments. You can send them on over to Yakoba at TEOTW7101 at Gmail, and I'm sure that he'll listen. But for me, I don't worry about all that. I'm worried about contemporary things. Who cares? Does knowing where we are, or excuse me, quote unquote, knowing where Jerusalem is, does that impact what's going on right now today? It doesn't. What does that prove? Does that work on critical infrastructure, economic development? Does that work on providing or building a relationship with our brothers and sisters on the continent? What does that prove? If you didn't know, this is a platform that I work on. Anything else with whatever you have going on, yeah, he's a troll. I know. But I do have to address the trolls, because when a troll trolls, they troll. But I can tell you, why they always come on over here? Look, I didn't write a book about Jerusalem. Why Why are you coming over here with that nonsense? These are just those ad hominems. It is what it is. All it means is I'm doing a good job, and I got to make this phone call because this person's waiting on me. And that is how it is. So, oh, Karis is doing a live. I gotta. Ah! Yeah, if you notice, if he was actually serious, I never unpinned the StreamYard. But it is what it is. Look, sometimes you don't even know what it is on out there. It's just I don't know anymore. AI has been really good. But with that said, I do have to actually do some work here. Microsoft literally calling about some things that I get taken care of with QQA, and they want to call on New Year's. I'm telling you, man, these outsourced folks have zero chill. See the attacks. Oh man, I messed with someone's feelings. That's okay. I didn't ask. I didn't ask you to be that deep. That's okay. Cool. And I appreciate your honesty and honestly, listen, I don't care. You don't have anything over me. You're not even on my dissertation committee. So who are you? I'm glad you did not peer review my stuff. So who are you? No, you're the one on the attack. I just stated. But again, it is what it is, family. We're starting off 2026 with the bang. And that's what I do. I'll entertain stuff. I do. I entertain stuff for just a little bit. Y'all know that, right? I think people know that. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you this in all fairness. I saw the setup coming back on Tuesday. I did. And I give people a little bit of time. I gave a book. He wants to talk about Wailing Wall. Man, that thing has been disproven so many times. It's not even funny. So you can tell that they're not even in this community. Those are like arguments from like 2021. Come on, man. Come on. Notice he didn't even want to mention Yakoba. Well, you're not that deep. Okay, I don't need to be. Yeah, well, he was talking about Wailing Wall. Man, that thing's been disproven so many times as Fort Antonio. Got it. You weren't here in my episodes where I showed how USAID was actually showing the Greek and Roman names. Oh, why were they showing the Greek and Roman names from the first and second century? I've done that. I've been there, done that. We don't even have time for that nonsense. That's just literally that's just a time waster. Like those are all the places that are there. Those are all the places that are in the Greek and Roman, Greco-Roman architecture. But then when you had your Council of Nicaea, then when you had their other councils, that was the first formulation of Rome. Well, guess what? Rome does what Rome does. Gives you fake information. Now, I booted you from my channel. I don't have the patience like that. You could try that over at Jacoba. He'll entertain you for a little bit. I mean, and that's why I gave him your book. Buy the book, read, and then make counter arguments. You want to know why? Because they can't. All their arguments are going to be like in the 1900s, the 1800s. Well, in the 1800s, and I laugh. The reason I touch on that is because the reality is you have to understand the context, and I'm gonna get off of this afterwards. The context was when I told you I was gonna be under attack as soon as I showed you Somaliland and the Star Molech. It was gonna be on. I told you, and that was a hanger on from that time. That was a hanger on. It's just like a nasty booger. You don't get it on out of you until you blow your nose. And I didn't even get a chance to go over the whole flu thing. We'll try to cover that here in a little bit. The reason why I say, look, you have to travel to these places because when you're on the ground in those places and you see those places and understand it, and those places, they tend to give you historical accounting. They can lie to you as much as you want. We just saw that with AI. You just saw that last week. When Jacoba and Tayu brought that on out. But the reason now you understanding why they're trying to recognize Somaliland is because they're trying to get back into Africa and they're trying to now, again, do the same thing that they were doing, try to create and form a neo-colonized state through Somaliland because it's been destabilized for a reason. It's not a destabilization from or due to just that Eastern Mediterranean nation. No, that is a Western destabilization effort. And now it's destabilized for this reason, because when a group of people have to go, they got to go somewhere. They're going to try and go somewhere. They're going to try and do something. All of a sudden, they have now historical, cultural, all of these different, now all of a sudden, now they're tied to the Horn of Africa. Oh my goodness. That doesn't make much sense. Because if you really wanted to be honest, I could have brought you back to, remember they wanted to go to Uganda and Kenya. That would have been more believable. But the problem is that phenotype wasn't working. Just saying, it wasn't. Balfour Declaration. And people think like they don't set this thing up for centuries in advance. Centuries in advance. They have a great planning apparatus. I don't take that against. I don't hold that against them. They plan for centuries. They plan for generations. They plan for millennia. I don't like to entertain nonsense because those are those straw man arguments. They don't like to bring up Balfour Declaration, straw man arguments. And when you are in a system, this is a Roman system. You better understand the system we're in. We're in a Roman system. This is Rome. We're just Rome 4 or 5.0 or 6.0. I don't know the variation, but we're somewhere on that. You have a couple of different Jerusalems here in the United States. I think 7 to be exact. We counted it. I think we even Googled it on this program. They're losing their ground. That was their ground to Africa. That was their ground to Egypt. Egypt is saying no because Egypt is now part of BRICS. And now they're getting ready to be kicked on out. And guess what? To be quite honest, Somaliland works because it's really now then out of the reach of Iranian airspace, and it's on its objective, which was always Africa. They couldn't get to Africa back in the 40s, back in the 20s and 30s. They wanted to go to Africa before the Balfour Declaration, and they stated that that was their holy land. But they've also stated Ukraine was their holy land, and also that Eastern Mediterranean nation. The reality of it is that that's how Edom rolls. And when Edom is Edom, guess what? Hey, no need to think about anything. Just listen to what we say because we're always going to be right. So don't listen to history. Don't look at history. Don't do any of that. Don't. All right, I got to get going. Family, it's been quite a memorable occasion to get things started for January 1st. Oh yeah, it's coming. And there you go, Brother Yacoba. You got free advertising. We shall at least have one book sale from one of our brothers that needs, a helping hand. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace, and blessings, Yasharel.